Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I wanted to go ahead and start doing another declutter series on my channel, and if you've been with me for a while, then you know I decluttered 6 months or so ago, starting a cruelty-free transition. So I went through my collection of makeup, which had gotten a little bit bigger than I wanted it to be honest, and I purged some of the things that were cruelty-free. Excuse me, switch that. I purged some of the things that were from non-cruelty free companies, and it was just a really nice way to kind of start a minimalism journey. I'm not going full minimalism, but I really do like to pare down what I own just in general to things that I absolutely love and things that I'm proud of, happy with, that kind of thing. And so as I started to learn more about cruelty-free products, I wanted to basically make sure that my collection was only cruelty-free products. So now I want to go ahead and do a declutter, basically looking at products that I don't love and eliminating them from my collection. I love to experiment with makeup, so sometimes that means buying something, using it a bunch, and then really realizing, you know what, it's not my favorite and it's not something I'm going to be reaching for often. So I want to go ahead and take things like that out of my collection, and especially, makeup products also expire. So I want to go ahead and, especially with cream products or kind of liquid-based products, to get rid of things that are older or, just aren't working for me, whether it's a combination of those things or whatever, but just to clean things out. So welcome to my first declutter. We're going to go ahead and take a look at foundations and primers today. And this is probably, I'm combining this category because it's probably the least amount of makeup I have. I love to collect like eyeshadows and lipsticks and colorful products. But I'm really on the hunt for a really amazing foundation as well. So I wanted to purge basically the stuff that I'm not using or the stuff that's old and I don't want to use it on my face anymore. So let's look at primers first. All right, you guys, I only have 4 primers, so let me go ahead and show those to you. I have the Spackle Under Makeup Primer by Laura Geller. I know that there is some debate about Laura Geller's cruelty-free status, so could definitely be cruelty-free. I'm not purging it for that reason, but the reason that I'm getting rid of this is because it is old. And I just don't use it much. I've used like this much of this product, and it's only an ounce of product and I've barely gone through it. I'm not a big primer person in general. But this is what the product looks like. It's kind of I would say it's more of a silky sort of moisturizing primer. It's not a silicone feeling primer at all. So if you have, basically you just want to create a nice smooth surface for your skin, but not one that has that slip feel of a silicone primer, then you might like this. But for me, I just don't reach for it enough, and it's getting old enough that I'm ready to go ahead and get rid of it. I won't be passing them on to anybody. And then I also have a primer by e.l.f. This is the Tone Adjusting Face Primer. This is the only silicone-based no, product that I have. And it does pump out green, so it's supposed to correct for redness in the skin. I don't know if it really does a good job of correcting, because basically when you blend it out, it essentially is clear. Which is good. I don't want my face to be green. But this is definitely a silicone primer. And so this is the only one I have that's like that. I like to use this on very specific spots where I might have enlarged pores, or if my skin is kind of dry and I have some wrinkles are looking emphasized, then I like to throw a primer like this on top because it just kind of smooths everything out. So I am going to keep this one. It's also not very old, so I'm going to keep that and give it some use. And then I have 2 more primers that are not technically primers, but that's how I use them. So in my makeup drawer, I keep a moisturizer, just because sometimes my skin feels dry, like I need to add a little extra something before I put makeup on. And so I got this, I believe, in a BoxyCharm or an Ipsy bag, something like that along the way. And it's a lotion. It's a face cream. I don't know much about it. I can't promote the brand, to be honest, because I don't know much about it, but it's just one of those products where it's a pretty neutral, doesn't bother my sensitive skin, nice, thin, but nicely moisturizing face cream. And so I keep it around, keep it in the drawer because you never know when you need a little bit of extra face cream. Am I right? Yeah. And then last but not least, same kind of purpose. This is, looks like a fancy package, right? No, this is just one of those airless pump containers. And I have aloe vera gel in here. So I use aloe vera gel probably the most commonly as a primer for my skin. I like aloe vera. I like the way it feels on my skin. It's cooling. I know it's very good for the skin. There's nothing weird ingredients-wise in this that's going to cause me to break out. It just gives my skin a little something extra when it's thirsty, and I feel like it's a good base for makeup. It doesn't interfere with any makeup that I've tried to put on top of it. So long story short, I'm gonna go ahead and keep these because they all serve a purpose in my collection, and I'm going to get rid of the spackle primer. And it's raining like crazy outside, so I'm sorry if you hear background noise of rain. It's kind of pleasant. Okay, so the next thing is foundations. You guys, I only own 6 foundations, which is way too many, to be honest. Like, how do you go through that many? You really can't. So I am going to be purging some of these. I'm going to go ahead and share with you what I have, what I'm keeping, and then I'll share the ones that I'm getting rid of last. So I am absolutely keeping my e.l.f. Acne Fighting Foundation. This has to be my favorite drugstore foundation. It has amazing coverage. It's really blendable. It's absolutely beautiful. My only concern with it is that it has a pretty limited color range. So this is my shade. I get it in the shade Porcelain, and it's a pretty good match for me, but my skin does get pretty pale right now. I don't have a lot of sun on my skin at all, and it's just a little bit too dark in the Porcelain shade. I don't feel like Porcelain is a good description for this shade. So I love it, but I definitely have to bring it down my neck when I'm using it and use like a lighter powder so that it really meshes well with my skin tone. But formula-wise, this is so good. And I've talked it to death on my channel, so I'm not going to say anything else, but I'm absolutely keeping this. Another one that I'm keeping is this one. This is from BH Cosmetics, and it is their BH Studio Pro HD Foundation. And I have this in the shade 103, which is also the lightest shade, and it's also just on the verge of not quite light enough. So if you're any more fair than I am, you might not find a shade in this brand, but from 103 on, they have an excellent shade range. So check it out if you have, you know, light to medium to dark skin tones. I think that you could definitely find something in this range. So BH Cosmetics, which is an awesome cruelty-free company, they make this HD foundation that's very lightweight. It doesn't feel like you're wearing anything on the skin, which I really like about it. It's very smoothing. I mean, look at the difference, right? Like, it's a really nice foundation. So that one's definitely one that I'm keeping, and I definitely use it a lot. But my issue comes in with having a shade that's just light enough for my skin. So there's one more that I'm keeping that's tricky for me, and I could really use your advice, you guys. So I have a third foundation, and this is by far the priciest foundation that I have. This is from NARS, and it's their all-day luminous weightless foundation. And it's 1 fluid ounce. I have it in the shade Mont Blanc, which is light 2, and it's like the lightest shade that they make, basically, and it's fantastic for coverage. I'm wearing it today, and I feel like my skin looks pretty natural. Like, you can still see that it's my skin, but none of my imperfections are really like popping through. So the coverage is fantastic, and it matches my tone. My issue is I'm not sure how I feel about supporting NARS, Urban Decay, these brands that are cruelty-free brands that are owned by parent companies that aren't cruelty-free. If you're not, into cruelty-free, that's totally cool if that's your decision. But I'm still on the fence about where I stand as a cruelty-free consumer with brands that are from non-cruelty-free parent companies. So I love this product and I will use this product up, and it'll probably take me like 2 years to do that. But I don't know if I'll repurchase. I'm not sure if I'll purchase anything else from NARS, the brand, because their parent company is not cruelty-free. Does that make sense? Yeah. I love this foundation, just not sure how much I love the company. And then there's 3 that I'm getting rid of, you guys. I'm getting rid of one from Ulta. This is an Ulta brand foundation, and it's their Demi Matte Foundation. It's a broad spectrum SPF 20 foundation, and it's a pretty nice foundation for a matte foundation. Foundation. Am I saying it like over and over again? Yes. It's a pretty nice formula if you like that demi matte look, but I just feel like lately my skin is going from combo with an emphasis on the normal to oily to combo with an emphasis on dry. So I'll get oily like on my chin and on my forehead, just a little bit on the forehead, but mostly on the chin, T-zone. And then everywhere else is so dry. So this accentuates the dryness in a way that I'm not loving. So I'm giving that one up, and it's also probably over 2 years old. So time to go. Another one I'm really sad to get rid of actually is this foundation by Milani. So this is the Milani Conceal and Perfect 2-in-1 foundation and concealer. This formula is amazing. It has so much coverage. It's not a matte finish, but it's not a semi-matte. It's not a luminous finish. It looks like skin. It's very natural, but very full coverage. I think they did an amazing job with the formula. But the color selection is just not good. This is shade 01 Creamy Vanilla, and it's described as fair with pink undertones, I believe. And I just don't even understand where that idea comes from, because this is what it looks like. It's basically yellow, like yellow, mustard yellow. It doesn't match my skin at all, and I've tried really hard to make it work, but it's a no-go. It doesn't match. So as much as I love the formula, what a struggle to try to make it match. I'm just not going to fight with that anymore. I'm going to give that one up because it doesn't match my skin. And if Milani came up with a 00 shade that was actually for porcelain skin, I would be all over it. I would rebuy that in an instant. All right, and last but not least, I'm getting rid of another one that's just gotten kind of old. This is from Doll 10, and it's their Hydra Fluid Foundation Drops. And I have this in the shade Light. It's a pretty limited shade selection. It's a nice kind of luminous, kind of hydrating formula, but not too, doesn't make my skin look greasy. I do have to powder it, and I might have to blot well through the day, but that's pretty typical. So it's a pretty like natural foundation. And it looks like skin. So I'm not in love with this. You can't really tell from the bottle just because the sides have product on them, but it's over halfway gone, and I feel like it's starting to separate a little bit, so like it's getting to the end of its usable life, which maybe if I didn't buy so many foundations, I could have actually used this one up, but I haven't, and so I would like to go ahead and get rid of it because I don't fancy the idea of putting something that's kind of separating on my skin, and no. So I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of those 3, the Milani, the Doll 10, and the Ulta. So that feels really good. I'm cutting my foundation collection in half, and I really love the ones I'm keeping, so I'm excited to put them to good use to get my money's worth out of those. And then I'm also getting rid of this one and then keeping the rest of my primers. Again, I have basically moisturizers as my primers for the most part. FYI, I recently returned 2 products that I absolutely want to tell you about that were horrible. So I don't have them here to show you, but I just want to tell you my experience. I bought the new Anastasia Stick Foundation. Oh, it was bad. I wanted it to be so good because all of these stick foundations are coming out. Anastasia is an amazing brand. It's cruelty-free, and I just had such high hopes for it. But that product for me was greasy. It went on my skin and just felt slippery even going on. Had a hard time blending it really nicely, and also the coverage wasn't good. So all around, it did not hit any good marks for me. So I can't recommend the Anastasia Stick Foundation. That is already returned. Another one that I thought I'd try was a foundation from Sonia Kashuk. And so I went to check that out at Target, and I ended up picking up the matte foundation. I'll insert a picture of it here because I was getting ready to like film a first impressions and use it. I I couldn't even do it, you guys. As soon as I opened it up, I squirt a little bit on the back of my hand to like test it out, see what it looks like. Because in the store, it's all wrapped in plastic. There's no testers. So I get it home and I test it. It is the most fragrant thing ever. It instantly gave me a headache. And I'm sensitive to fragrance, but usually it won't just like instantly give me a headache. Oh my gosh, it was really bad. So, you know the fragrance of like the Pond's brand night cream, like that classic night cream that's very perfumey smelling? That's what it smelled like. And I couldn't even bring myself to put it on my face. So I immediately returned it. So just an FYI heads up, I don't recommend if you have any qualms about fragrance, the Sonia Kashuk foundation, or the Anastasia Stick Foundation because of the coverage and the wear and ew. So anywho, I'll let you know if I do try any other foundations. Let me know if you've tried some new ones that are working for you because I'd like to check them out. All right, you guys, so I'm going to go ahead and take a look through the rest of my collection and share some different categories with you where I'm definitely going to make some changes, do some purging of products. I know that lips is going to be a big one because those are cream products that can go bad, and I just want to make sure I'm keeping my collection healthy. So we're going to take a look at those probably next. Thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you next time. Bye.